Hey guys, I just wanted to apologize for the YouTube video for the Elden Ring game footage. It was not a good video to record. Unfortunately, it was I didn't have the size set correctly, so you are going to notice that the game video is a little bit that the video gameplay is a little bit out of whack, and I apologize for that. On the next video, I will do better. You know, I'm just now getting back into this, so I apologize for making that mistake, but in the future it will not happen again. Thank you so much. What is up, everybody? It is your boy BTG Inferno. We are coming at you with episode 24 of the Broken Controllers. Um, you know, I'm really excited to do this podcast. You know, it's been something that I've been working on for a while. Um, Obviously, Iris isn't here anymore, so it was one of the. I thought I could not do this alone. But I figure I'll just make the videos a little information heavy. You know, not like an information dump or anything like that. But I definitely want to kind of stretch the show out just a little bit, being that it's me by myself. And I'll make these as long as I can. You know, as soon as I get another guy, definitely, we'll definitely be recording together. Unfortunately, I just couldn't find another person without promise of like fame or money. You know what I mean? People here, they're not going to make money at this, until we set up a Patreon and actually start getting some followers. And unfortunately, just turns into a situation where people just aren't interested in giving up a little bit of time now for future promises or whatever the case may be. So it is what it is. I hate to have to do this alone, but I do want to make a show for you guys, and this is something that I've been trying for a long time. So please bear with me as we start out. I am still pretty new at this. I do want to start live streaming as well. For now, I'm going to start with recording, and then obviously we'll go from there. So, like I said, please bear with me. But with that being said, I do have an editor. I have editing software, so I can do it myself if something falls through, and so on and so on. So I have everything that I need in order to do this. Thumbnails will come later, so everything's just going to have to fall in order, as I'm doing this. So please excuse any hiccups or anything like that. All right. So let's just get right into it here. We're going to start with what we're playing. Let's just start with, well, I'll save that for last. Let's just start with Kingdom Hearts 3. Kingdom Hearts 3 is really good. Currently, I'm trying to beat it on Critical. I did beat it on Proud, and I'm trying to go through and beat it on Critical. It's tough. The Kingdom Hearts 3, the main complaint about it is it's a little easier than the rest of the Kingdom Hearts. I mean, yeah, maybe, but I mean, when you add Keyblade transformations, there's a ton there. You got a shot lock, you got summons, which are now called links. You got your magic. I mean, there's a lot of different, and then plus each key that you get changes its Keyblade transformation. So there's a lot of actual stuff that you can actually do in that game in terms of like flashy battle capability, which was actually my concern moving from Kingdom Hearts 2 to 3. Anybody that's played Kingdom Hearts 1, 1.5, kind of Chain of Memories, you know that the combat is good, but it's not very flashy. Kingdom Hearts 2 increased the flash just a little bit, just to make sure that, people were indeed actually, using the combos that they had to their capabilities, especially, with the infinite combo that they have in number 2. But moving into number 3 was a concern because I liked that flashy combat. And there's a lot of people that don't. There's a lot of people that would disagree with me and say, oh, well, I don't like that flashy combat because it makes things easier, whatever the case may be. The reason I like it, is because I feel like when talking about Sora in a warrior in the Disney universe, that I feel like is what his combat would look like. I mean, let's take Mickey for example. You know what I mean? Mickey is, he's very flashy in the shows that he actually does. That's just him. Think about the Sorcerer's Apprentice. Fantasia. I don't know if anybody's ever been to Disneyland, but Phantasmal. That was an incredible uh, experience because it's not just a video; it's an experience. I want to see that magic. I want to see the Keyblade spinning. I want to see Sora change form so that he can take on a stronger opponent. You know what I mean? Like, those are the things that I want to see out of Kingdom Hearts based on what we saw in 2, and I feel like they really delivered. The cutscenes are on point. Look, you can say whatever you want about Kingdom Hearts. Say, Final Fantasy, Disney crossover. You can say whatever you want about Kingdom Hearts. It doesn't matter. The game is good. Okay? When you have multiple people, giving it 7s, 8s, in some cases 9s, out of 10, that I don't see how you can call that game actually bad. With that being said, I don't feel as though it's a perfect game. There's games out there that outperform Kingdom Hearts 3, both in storytelling and gameplay. One that immediately comes to mind is God of War, which was an incredible game. Just the visuals and the aesthetics, it was something to really watch. So definitely, it's not a perfect game, but it is a game that is worth playing. If you've played the other Kingdom Hearts, I'm not saying go out and drop, $120 on 3 new discs, including the Kingdom Hearts collection, which would put you current, you know what I mean? But I'm not going to tell you go out and buy all those if you haven't played them. If you've played Kingdom Hearts and you're interested in the series, or if you even just want to check it out and you're wondering what this is about, Kingdom Hearts 3 is not a great starting point. It's not. You won't know anything that's going on. That being said, if you want to just play a fun single-player game, it's there. You know what I mean? Definitely try it. And then if you care about the story, go back, and then you can learn everything about Kingdom Hearts 3. Just treat them all as prequels, because that's essentially what they are. So, I've actually been having a lot of fun with Kingdom Hearts. I've been... currently, I am trying to beat it on Proud, like I said. But on my normal file, or trying to beat it on Critical, excuse me. But on my normal file, I did... on my normal file, I did get to the data copies, because I got the Remind DLC. And no spoilers here. I mean, if you didn't know the data copies were in Remind, go watch some trailers. Because they absolutely, or maybe not some trailer, maybe some gameplay. They absolutely make it completely clear that the data copies are going to be in the Remind DLC. They made it perfectly clear because that's what people enjoyed about Kingdom Hearts 2, was the data copies at the end, and there's actually some really interesting ones in there. There's the 13 data copies, and then there's a secret boss that I'm not going to spoil. That is just... And he is tough. He is tough. He is a tough opponent. Or she. She is a tough opponent. He or she. But anyway, I honestly can't say enough about it. Remind was something else. A lot of people were like, "Oh, well, this was supposed to give us extra story. You just played through the end of the game as different character." That's not necessarily true. It did give us a lot of extra story. It told us where Sora was going. It told us where Kairi went. I don't want to spoil stuff, so I'm not going to get into all that. But it does give you some information if you haven't beat Kingdom Hearts 3 by now, I don't know what to say. But it definitely... I don't want to spoil stuff, and that's just the way it is. But anyway, it tells where Kairi was at the end of the game, and then it tells exactly how Sora got to where he was going, if that makes sense. And that's about as vague as I can be. That being said, I mean, could they have done better? Yeah, probably. They could have added some classic worlds in, like Nightmare Before Christmas, Aladdin, stuff like that. And that actually would have improved the game, but when you're talking about, you know, a 50, 60, 70 hour, in this case it was actually closer to 50, but, you know, 50, 60, 70 hour game, putting in an extra character to go do that again, it's not easy. You know what I mean? So, like, when you're talking about, you know, playing in the Remind DLC, playing as these different characters at the end of the game, you know, like, they already have 50 hours of gameplay they have to build off of with that Remind DLC. Dropping something like Aladdin, Nightmare Before Christmas, and some other, like, some other throwback, like Traverse Town or something like that, you know, that would obviously be something that they would have to additionally build on. So this, like, as much as I want the things that I want from game developers, developing is not easy. So that's one thing that I've actually kind of taken to heart when it comes to things like, you know, especially like 8s and 9s and 10s for games, like Elden Ring and God of War, just incredible games. You know what I mean? Kingdom Hearts, probably my favorite genre. That being said, there are other games that I would recommend you play if you're getting into video games, and you want to see exactly what they are. Alright, moving on. Next I played, well, obviously, I did play Elden Ring. Just gonna put that out there, but I want to save that for last. I actually have some gameplay here. Actually, well, you know what? We'll talk about it right now. I played Elden Ring. Elden Ring was a lot of fun. I haven't beat it. Elden Ring is a lot of fun. I haven't beat it. I am currently about 8 hours into the game. It's tough. It's very tough. It's very, very tough. The things that I like about Elden Ring are... So the things that I like about Elden Ring are opposite of Dark Souls, if that makes sense. So Dark Souls was this gritty, grungy, you know, just really like, what's the word? Desolate game, right? It was, the whole idea of Dark Souls was to make you feel like you're in a world that is trying to kill you. And that is exactly what Dark Souls is. Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, and a lot of the same archetype following through until you get to, like, the multiplayer-based stuff. So, in Dark Souls 3. So, in that respect, Dark Souls accomplished his mission. Elden Ring is a little bit different. I can actually get some gameplay up here, and let me go ahead and do that real quick. Yeah, there it is. So Elden Ring, excuse me, I don't have a second monitor yet, working towards that. This is some gameplay. This is actually from, oh, it only has one view, but I want to thank you properly. It's from Tommy Phantom. Excuse my my computer there. It's from Tommy Phantom. This is the Elden Ring gameplay here. This is, I have not made it this far. This is an open world game, obviously. So when we're talking about Elden Ring and we're talking about, you know, playing the game, it's not, I mean, there are 5 main bosses you have to beat in this game to get the ending sequence, I guess. You know, we have all kinds of speed runs out there, you know, speed runs all the way up to all the way down to 20 minutes. So, you know, it's been, like, people are getting really good at this game really fast. But with that being said, I mean, it is the exact opposite. This is a little bit different of a scenery that he's going through. There's a lot of smoke in this guy and a lot of destruction around. This is not what you're normally looking at in Elden Ring. I mean, this is a good representation of what Elden Ring is, but this is not your traditional map here. He's clearly going through a dungeon right now. But what I was going to say about this game is, you know, look, okay. This is kind of tough to talk about, right? Because you wanna give the game its dues. You know what the game is going for. You understand that the game is going for a oh, what's the word I'm looking for? A sort of unbeatable feeling. You know what I mean? You know that the game is going for that. So I want to give the game what it deserves. Okay? We have to start with Elden Ring and Dark Souls as a whole, because Elden Ring is a spiritual successor to Dark Souls. Okay, if you're gonna play this game, it's not going to hurt to go back and play Dark Souls. And plus, from what I understand, I haven't made it there yet, but there's some pretty cool cameos. Some Dark Souls bosses that you can get into and all that. And some Dark Souls bosses you can fight, I would say. But as you know, Dark Souls is tough. This guy did not make an easy mode for this game, so this is actually the Spanish version of the game, it looks like. But this guy did not make an easy version for this game. He actually decided that he was, going to put the game out as intended, and it was going to be hard. The guy's name, hold on, I have it right here. Now please excuse me if I butcher this. It's Hidetaka Miyazaki, if I'm not mistaken. And he is the actual writer and creator of Elden Ring. From Software obviously developed it. But this is one of those situations where he wrote the game, and then also George R.R. Martin, actually. Everybody was wondering what game he was working on. This was the game. George R.R. Martin was a co-writer for this. If you're not familiar with his work, I don't know how you're not. that's confusing to me. But if you're not familiar with his work, this is the same guy that did Game of Thrones. He's the same guy that wrote of the Fire and Ice series. So he wrote the stories for both the Game of Thrones show, and then he wrote the whoa, that thing came out of nowhere. Look at that shit. That bird wanted some. That bird was coming for fucking blood. That bird was coming for blood. He wanted blood. Anyway, what was I saying? It escaped me. But basically, George R.R. Martin. Yeah, he's the one that did the stories for Game of Thrones and of the Fire and Ice series. So, this guy, obviously, he knows what he's doing. Got a buffering issue here. Go back to my handy-dandy little other window here. So George R.R. Martin definitely knows what he's doing in terms of, storytelling. So if you're talking about well-written games and what they actually are, definitely you're in the right realm as far as game writing goes. I honestly can't say enough about this game. Yes, it is very tough. Yes, it is very hard. Yes, it is a punishing game. It is deliberate. It is to the point. If you go in thinking this game's easy because you fought a couple of the main outside area bosses in the world, those outside area bosses are easy unless they come in mass. Really, where the challenges lie are in the bosses and the sub-bosses, and then also the special enemies, which will, they will turn you out if you're not careful. Do I feel like not putting an easy mode in here is regrettable? It's hard to say. You know what I mean? I want to make sure. That I'm just gonna trust that it's going. Anyway, maybe I shouldn't. That was an accident. Look at that. Yeah. Anyway, I can't say enough about this game. Yes, it is a punishing game. Yes, it is hard. Yes, it's not going to take it easy on you. That being said, this game, it's beyond good. I did not like Dark Souls. I didn't like Dark Souls. I thought Dark Souls was a grungy, dirty, gross, it was depressing every time I turned it on, and yeah, maybe that is part of the tone of Dark Souls. But with that being said, that's not the kind of game that I want. Now, if I'm feeling like I want a new Ninja Gaiden or something like that, then obviously turn on Elden Ring or Dark Souls. And that's when I would play Dark Souls. I wanted a hard game when I picked this game up. But with that being said, you do need accessibility options, okay? There are some people that are either not all there up here, they're mentally handicapped, or they don't have, they have some sort of accessibility issue, missing fingers, missing hand, whatever the case is, an amputated, we need accessibility for these kind of games. And Yeah, whereas what's his name? Uh, Miyazaki didn't create an easy mode, and that could be kind of a hit to the game. I do believe that this is Dark Souls 2 or Dark Souls 4 essentially, 2.0, if you will. You know, this is you see what you get. You know, you're not gonna come into the game and just dominate. There are some people that can do that. I'm not saying you're not going to do that as just like an overall like as a badass gamer. I'm just saying that generally there's not a lot of people who are going to come into this game and just slaughter it because it's not built for that. It is a phenomenal looking game. I actually kind of got down on this game a little bit when it first got released because I was like looking at the grass and the textures, and I was like, "What is this shit?" Like the textures aren't. You know, I didn't feel like the textures were great, but once you get this on a big screen and you actually have like 4K, UHD, 60 FPS, that kind of thing, like it's worth. Yeah, those things are fucking everywhere too. They are ugly. Um, it's worth looking at the graphics. I think this game is gorgeous. It's phenomenal. It's hard. It's everything you want out of Dark Souls 4, except for its Elden Ring. It's better written, in my opinion, and it's the overall better game. You know, I don't want to give it a score because this isn't a rating as much as it is more of a recommendation. But with that being said, I mean, the scores that gave it, 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5, perfect scores, this game deserves that. So if you want a tough game, make no mistake, this game is hard. This game is hard. This guy is making this look easy. But this game is tough. You know, if you're gonna pick this game up, expect a challenge and expect to play it for 50, 60, 70 hours. You know, a lot of people are saying, that when played the way it's intended, this is an 80-hour experience. You know, it is an open world game. So, I mean, there's got to be a lot of stuff to do. But, everywhere you go, you're seeing something going on. You see a base over here. You see people fighting over here. You see a new cave that you can go to into a new dungeon, a new enemy. Like, this is all stuff you want to do. And there are some enemies in this that will just straight up lay your ass out. You're kind of seeing it with this giant rat. Like, this thing is kicking this guy's butt. But with that being said, like, you know what you're getting with this game. It's going to be tough. And it's, going into it, I don't really know what else to say about that. You know what I mean? Like, yes, it needs accessibility offers, but you know what Dark Souls is, and you know that Elden Ring is now a sequel, a spiritual successor, excuse me, not a sequel, a spiritual successor to Dark Souls. It's going to be tough. This is what they do, So, I'm going to go ahead and go back to my camera here. That is Elden Ring. Elden Ring is phenomenal. Don't sleep on it, guys. Don't sleep on Elden Ring, because I'm telling you what, if I would have slept on this game, I would have been missing out on a huge, huge portion of, well, not portion, but gaming in development, I guess. You know what I mean? Development of games. I'm not talking about gaming development, like developer for games. I'm talking about gaming as a whole developing throughout time, right? So I'm definitely, that's one you want to play for sure. Next we have, sorry, I got my handy dandy room notes here. Next we have, I played Mortal Kombat 11. Mortal Kombat 11 is really good. There's not really much to say about it. It's been out for a while, so I don't want to spend too long on it. I also have to get real quick. There we go. So Mortal Kombat, I don't want to spend too much time on it, obviously, because Mortal Kombat's really good. But with that being, it is kind of old now that it's been out for a couple years. But now that, the seasons and all that, like, all right, let me start from the beginning, because I'm kind of stuttering here. The seasons in Mortal Kombat, I believe, are 28 or 30 days. trying to think about where I want to go from here. The story mode, I don't know if you've ever played a Mortal Kombat NetherRealm game, Mortal Kombat game specifically, but the story mode that NetherRealm puts together is so compelling, so good, and yes, they do operate off of the trilogy. So that's 9, 10, and 11, right? So that's the remake for 9, the remake of what was considered Mortal Kombat 2, and then Mortal Kombat 11 is basically the remake of what's considered to be Mortal Kombat trilogy, which is not the same as Mortal Kombat 3, which was actually terrible. So with that being said, like, it's Mortal Kombat. You know what you're getting into. Game looks fantastic, phenomenal. I'm not going to say, like, it's the best fighting game ever, but, definitely, if you want to go check out Mortal Kombat, for both the storytelling and the online perspective of it, then I definitely suggest going and doing that. I'm trying to find a stream here, because I want to show you guys some Tales of Arise gameplay. That's actually what we're going into next. We'll use this person. They got 2 views on their thing, and I will leave them a nice thank you note. But basically, next I want to talk about Tales of Arise. Elden Ring, there's not really much to talk about Elden Ring and Mortal Kombat as far as that's concerned. Next I want to talk about Tales of Arise. Man, this game is a wild ride. Tales of Arise is interesting. I found the game compelling, but only because I want to know who some of the characters are. So, for instance, like the storytelling is very simple. This guy named Iron Mask is part of the Danon, and they're actually slaves to the people called the Renin, and the Renin actually run the show, right? And Iron Mask is traveling around as a Danon with a Renin that's actually, well, they got their own, I'm not going to spoil any of that. They got their own goals. They got separate goals. But they are traveling together because it's a safer bet, especially when you're talking about going and fighting the Danon and Renin. The Renin specifically. This is Tales of Arise, correct? Like, this is a Rising of the Tales. This isn't Tales of Arise. See? That's why I gotta pay attention. Anyway. There we go. Alright, anyway. So the game starts out with, you're obviously Iron Mask. You meet a couple people, or you meet one person, and that one person kind of leads you through your next set of objectives. This game, so first and foremost, don't play this game unless you really want a single-player experience. And I'm talking, like, do not play this game unless you're you're invested in the actual story itself. Because as you can see, I mean, this is just one cutscene too. Oh, I'm not on that. I should go back to my screen. This is actually really good. Thank you to Shirako for putting this out. Leave it real nice. This thing's only got 12 views, and this guy's got a ton of subscribers. It's interesting. I would like to find a go-to for this game, because this game looks really good. I mean, if you're into anime, like, this is the game to play for sure. We're just gonna use this one, and I'll leave a nice thank you note. This game is the game to play if you're into anime. It's one of those that keeps you engaged throughout the cutscenes, because sometimes people will see cutscenes and they'll be like, oh my gosh, I don't want a 30-minute cutscene, I don't want an hour-long cutscene. You're not going to really get that in this, but the story that they do give you is actually super important. This is the very beginning of the game. No spoilers, obviously. This is the very beginning of the game. All you're doing here is you're discovering a thing called the Flame Sword. And it's a sword that does damage to people as they hold it. But Iron Mask can't feel pain, which is why he can wield the flaming sword. It's still hurting him. It's just he doesn't feel it, right? So it's burning him like a motherfucker. That's a lot of burning. But this is Tales of Arise. What you see is what you get. If you've never played a Tales game, I can give you kind of a lowdown. Basically, you're a main character. You meet with one other character, and then as you meet with other characters, you gain your ability to go into Link finishes, your ultimate moves. You can change between characters, changing your combat style. I honestly have no idea where this story goes. I've never played a Tales game in a sense. And I've never played a Tales game for more than like 2 hours, and I've never played a Tales game in this sense where it has two kind of like sub stories going on, right? And it's actually both of them are extremely interesting. You definitely want to know more about Iron Mask. You definitely want to know more about I forget her name. But you definitely want to know more about both of those characters. These are they're the main characters of the series. As you can see, this cutscene is a little bit longer, so if you do like cutscenes, and this is like, to be fair, this is like one of the longest cutscenes. I can actually skip forward here. To be fair, that's one of the longer cutscenes in the game. So, that being said, take it for what it is. Tales of Arise is, I'm going to go back a little bit, because I don't actually know if we're in spoiler territory or not. I know that we're not here, but I know that later on it gets into some pretty spoiler stuff. But anyway, with Tales of Arise, the game's good. It's compelling. It takes you for a wild ride. There's really not much more to say about it. It's a JRPG, I've had fun with it, there's not really much more to say. Tales of Arise is good. If you want a good JRPG, 40, 50, 60 hours, then definitely go pick up Tales of Arise. I would say be prepared for a slower start. It is a slower start. It's one of my pet peeves with games is when I turn on a game and it doesn't immediately grab me. And that's not the game's fault. It's my fault. But if a game doesn't immediately grab me, the chances of me actually playing through it, like from beginning to end, it's not really good. I want to be grabbed. I want to be held. I want to be enthralled in the story so that every beat that they take, I'm enjoying. With that being said, I haven't enjoyed everything. Like I said, the beginning is very slow. Just expect that going in. I don't think that's to the game's detriment. I feel like they set things up really good. I feel like they've definitely continued to move the story along at a good pace that doesn't make you feel like it's being rushed. So, definitely on my recommend list. If you want to check it out, Tales of Arise is out there, and it's fantastic. So, absolutely give that a look. And if you guys are interested in that sort of thing, in that game specifically, then Tales of Vesperia is out there, and there's a bunch of Tales games. There's like 9 of them, I think. There may be way more than that. I don't even know. But if I'm not mistaken, there's like 9 of them. But there's a bunch of other Tales games out there that a lot of the gameplay is a lot of the same. You get these creatures you're trying to fight, and to an extent, they're going to be pretty tough, especially some of the sub bosses. You know what I mean? So if you're going into this game and you want to actually, you're going in for the boss battles and actually enjoying the enthralling experience, be aware there are going to be some parts of this game that are a little tough. So far, I've only died a couple times, but with that being said, you definitely, it's still fun. So I will say that. It's tough, but it's still fun. This guy, as you can see, he's kind of taking an ass whooping right now. But with that being said, this game can turn around in a second. Shion's back there, and she's got healing spells. So, things can go either way in these battles. You definitely got to stay on your toes if you're going to play this game. But this is gameplay, essentially. And I don't know why, but this cat is not... Oh, it's because he can't yet. It's not showing it here. but you can actually switch between characters that are in your party. This is the very, very, very beginning of the game, actually. It's not showing it here, but you can actually switch between characters in your party, which makes for some really interesting finishers. But as you can see, this is the gameplay. You're not really going to get much more than this. Maybe a little like that. That's a little flashier, but I mean, overall, this is what you see is what you get kind of thing. So, highly recommend Tales of Arise. If you haven't gotten a chance yet, go play it. It's fantastic. Be aware that it is, like I said, a 40, 50-hour experience, maybe even longer. But, I mean, you're going in, especially if you're playing something like Elden Ring, you've already played, a 30, 40, you've already played that many hours. So if you enjoy the Tales game, definitely pick it up. Moving on, I did play, we talked about Elden Ring, we talked about Mortal Kombat. Oh, I played Biomutant. I only played a couple hours of this. Biomutant is fine. It's okay. It's good. I will say that. The combat's fun. The hand-to-hand combat has absolutely been some of my favorite things in any video games, especially with that game specifically. I do like the created character. Like I said, I haven't gotten too far into this. I don't know too much about it. But I did enjoy the created character. I made my own little raccoon dog thingy. And a raccoon chipmunk thingy. A squirrel thing. And I did play through the beginning of the game with the raccoon. The game feels really good. I have heard that they try to put too many systems into it. I am feeling a slow start to the game. It's not like it hasn't grabbed me. The combat definitely keeps me interested. But with that being said, I can tell they're working towards something. This is the setup, and obviously it's one of those things where, like, you kind of expect a slow start for a first game of a series. So, with that being said, I mean, Biomutant is fine. I will say the game looks phenomenal. The game looks really good. From the character that you create all the way down to the grass and dirt, the game looks just really good. Definitely worth a play. I don't really know what else to say about it other than they threw a lot of different systems in there. And like I said, it hasn't really grabbed me. I mean, there's not really... I mean, I definitely have been looking forward to this game for a few years now, but there isn't anything that's grabbing me right away and saying, hey, you need to come back and play this. I turned it on a couple weeks ago, and then I think I've turned it on once since then. So, there's nothing compelling enough to bring you back to the series. That being said, it's a good game. I mean, it's fun. If you're looking for just a fun thing to just go out there and play, then I definitely do recommend Biomutant. That's gonna do it for video games. Next, actually, we'll get. Next, I actually want to go into Mobile Minute. If you guys weren't familiar with Irish and I's show, back when we first started doing this, Mobile Minute is just a segment where we talk about, it's just a 10 or 15 minute segment where we talk about what mobile games that we've been playing. For this Mobile Minute, we're going to talk about Slither.io. And like I said, this is a really small section, maybe 5 minutes, I'm not sure, but I have it earmarked for 15. But anyway, Slither.io is really good. So with this game, you gotta take it for what it is. It is a mobile game. Okay, so it is gonna rely on you touching the screen to go where you need to go. But what you are doing essentially is you're a snake, and you start out with, I think it's either 10 or 20. I think you start out with 10. You start out with 10 dots, and your objective is to move around the screen with your finger or stylus and collect these different dots as you're avoiding other players, like real-life players that are trying to get you to run into their wall so that you can, so that if you run into something or you run into someone, you turn into a bunch of glowing dots, and those dots are worth 50 apiece, and then they can come back and pick up all your dots, right? So you can have somebody that's like 40,000 deep, they just run into you on accident. Next thing you know, you're running up this entire snake trying to catch all these dots. The downside to that is there are these players that come out of nowhere when these people die, and they are just all over it. If you're not careful, I don't, because you can sprint with your snake. I don't sprint into those anymore. I die very quick if I sprint into those. So with that being said, like I just don't. I just chill. I'm just moving. And if I don't get the entire snake, then that's fine. At least I got some dots out of it. You know what I mean? At least I got some pretty significant dots out of it. So it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, 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 you have to take out these other players to defend yourself and to gain points. But everybody makes mistakes in this game, and it's one of those, especially like, and this was one thing that I I thought was really interesting. You'll have 50, 60,000, 50 or 60,000 worth of dots, and some guy will come along and he'll sprint in front of you, and then the next thing you know, you're dead. But what's interesting about this game is when you're big enough, you can actually encircle little snakes. And once you encircle little snakes, they're trapped, right? They're trapped in a little circle. When you do that, there's either one of two things that are going to happen. You're either going to A, try and close that circle where eventually you're still going to mess up. Or B, they're going to run into the side of your wall right away, which is free points. This obviously doesn't work with the bigger snakes, and you got to watch out for the bigger snakes that do this, because a lot of people, if they're big enough, they'll just circle you and be done with it. With that being said, there's always a bigger snake on the map. Unless you're the biggest snake on the map, the biggest snake on the map is really working on encircling the entire map. That's the whole idea, right? You know what I mean? But these maps are huge, so you want to encircle a large amount of people in a small circle when you're a big snake, so that you can actually continue to progress in a manner that the game wants you to progress in. That being said, I do think that the game needs to... They need to change it just a little bit. Because I don't like how every time I go to fight, pick up a big guy's dots, here comes a million people. You know what I mean? And it's no fault of the game, especially when you have a 60,000 line or 60,000 dot snake that's just been off, because now there's a whole line of them that are leading you right back to where you just killed the thing, right? So, and it's no fault of the game. This is what the game's designed to do. But can we be a little, like, for instance, like sprinting, you know what I mean? Like, can we be a little, because sometimes you'll tap in a different area of the screen, and I don't know if it's my tablet or if it's the actual game design, but sometimes the snake will go in opposite direction, and you'll mess up, right? And then it ends up killing you. It's really frustrating. So in that sense, like, really work on those touchscreen controls. Like, I shouldn't have to tap over here and then the snake just turns a little bit. You know what I mean? If I tap over on the other side of the iPad, the snake needs to, like, turn around and go the other direction, which is something that, touch controls, work on your touch controls. I don't really know what else to tell you, So in that case, I mean, that's really nitpicky. That's really, like, there's just this one thing that I don't like. But, I try to make it a habit to say something good and bad about a game for obvious reasons. Because I don't want to give anybody the wrong idea about a game. There are some bad things about most games. But like I said, that's really nitpicky. The game's really addicting. I mean, this game's super addicting. I mean, I've sat here and played for hours and hours and hours and hours. So if you want a mobile game that is going to keep you entertained and engaged, this is the game you want to play. I have talked about Mario in the past. I've talked about the Mario Kart, the Mario Run. I've talked about a couple different Temple Runner games. Of all the mobile games that I played, this is by far maybe not the most action-packed, maybe the not most engaging, or actually it is certainly the most engaging. It is definitely very addicting, but you know, even though it's not full of action and all that, there's still plenty of fun to be had. There's still taking care of enemies. There's a lot to it. Um, Way more than just running around collecting dots, which has been really a lot of fun for me. So definitely that's a recommend if you like collecting games or running games you can't really necessarily win in, where you can be winning but not win, then definitely play that game. Next story. Epic drops building in Fortnite permanently. There's a whole crap ton of people out there saying, "Oh, Fortnite's going to come back. The building's going to come back with after season 3." No, it's not. Epic did an interview with Frag Hero that said, well, they didn't do the interview. Frag Hero picked up on the story. It just said, "Hey, look, you know, Fortnite's meant to evolve. You know, we're not putting building back in. It's just not going to happen." You know, Epic came out and said this specifically. So anybody that doesn't agree with me, that's fine. You don't have to agree. But go do the research. Because Epic absolutely 100% said building is not coming back. And you guys can be as mad as you want about it. You know what I mean? You can say I'm wrong. You know, I don't know what to tell you. That's what they said. You know, and honestly, it's actually really helping the game. There's been an influx of players that come in, and those players have been obviously players that have played in the past. Stuff like, you know, they're coming from places like Apex, Warzone, you know, other battle royales that have made their name, or PUBG, you know, that have made their name, and they're actually coming back into Fortnite because the building is gone. I personally didn't like the building either. I personally didn't like it. I do not like that I'm firing at somebody and then just a wall goes up and then the next thing I know I'm looking at its tower. And you can go on the counteroffensive and say, well, that's what Fortnite's about. I don't care. I don't enjoy it. You know what I mean? I don't enjoy the fact that, you know, that I'm shooting somebody and the next thing I know they're in an impenetrable fortress that I'm just sitting here getting shot. And you know the solution to a game you don't like, just don't play it. Right? I want to go back to this game. I've had some serious fun in the past with it with my brother. The building was a little bit annoying. Now that the building's gone, I want to go check it out. So there's a lot of other people that are thinking the same thing. You know, not a lot of people like to be shooting somebody and then a building goes up. Cover's different, right? You got to run to that cover. You got to maneuver to that cover. So if you're going to go for cover in a first-person shooter, any first-person shooter, Halo specifically, if you're going to go for cover, you have to be good enough to actually make it to that cover so that you have defense against your enemy fire. I don't want to see a wall just drop right in front of me. That's not okay. Like, that's annoying. Now, you know, the counter to that is, well, you have your own building. You can build a fortress into their fortress, and you can get as high as they can so that you can shoot them and throw grenades down. It's like, yes, I can. If I want to put hours and hours and hours and hours into building, yes, I can get that good. But that's two aspects of Fortnite. One is the shooting and combat. The other is the building. I don't have time to learn all that. I don't even have time to play a first-person shooter like Apex. And when I say I don't have time, it's not like I don't have physical time to do it. It's just my mind is not geared for that kind of game. I'm not going to sit down for the hours that it takes to learn that game just to turn around and be like, well, you know, I still got building to learn. You know, it's like, can we focus on building or combat? You know, those are the big things for me. And as far as Fortnite's concerned with the combat, it's actually really good. I really enjoyed the combat. That's the thing that I actually hated the most about Fortnite in terms of the building, was I would be really enjoying myself, and the next thing I know, I'm fucking hating it because this wall just dropped in front of me. Like, okay, like, and yeah, I can shoot that wall or whatever, but another wall's going to drop right there. Next thing I know, they're 20 stories up in a fortress. It doesn't even matter if I shoot that wall, because as soon as I walk in, they're going to kill me. You know what I mean? That sort of stuff with me does not jive competitively. That is not competitive play. That is building your tower and holding down that position until you no longer can. That is glorified camping in video games, as far as I'm concerned. So, in terms of Fortnite dropping this, I think it's a home run. Like I said, there's a huge return for thousands of players, and you know the Epic came out and they're like, hey, Fortnite is going to continue to evolve. You know, we're not going to stop here. You know, if we feel like we need new guns or, you know, building needs to come back, then that's going to happen. That's exactly what's going to happen. You know, they're listening to players, and this is actually how you make a good games as a service game. You know, this is how you make your game successful, because if you don't listen to the player base, you're not going to be able to give the players what they want. Let me back that up a little bit. If you don't listen to the player base, you're going to piss players off that already play. That's a good way to put it. Apex has actually seen a serious drop in players too because of this. Now, granted, these games are battle royales; they're huge. You know, Apex is not hurting for money in any capacity. That with that being said, you know, Apex is losing a regular player base. My brother doesn't play it anymore. That's a perfect example. You know, he used to play Fortnite and Apex. Now he just plays Fortnite. Well, actually, he played Apex for a really long time, but now he's talking about going back to Fortnite, right? So you can see that the decisions that they're making are really helping the game. Now, whether or not you like them, it doesn't really matter, because they're in it for the money. If it doesn't make dollars, it don't make sense. They're not going to go out of their way to make a game that just a small group of people like, right? And last but not least, for the news section, again, this is more sad than anything else, but a retro gaming museum in Ukraine has been destroyed. The gaming museum was located in Mariupol, Ukraine. The owner is safe. The owner's fine. This happened in the initial invasion of Ukraine. They just basically leveled the entire building. It was also his house. So, you know, my heart goes out to those people. There's really... Look, this is simply a terrible situation. The situation in Ukraine is not okay. There's a lot of nasty, nasty things that's happening over there. With that being said, this isn't the focus of this story. I don't want to talk about the war in Ukraine, because this is an escape from life, essentially. But the Retro Gaming Museum was destroyed in Ukraine, and there's really no plans to bring it back. It was a piece of gaming history. We'll probably never see another museum like that. We'll probably never get a chance to visit something like that. But with that being said, you know, as terrible as it is for us, it's worse for the owner. My heart goes out to him. My heart goes out to all of Ukraine. So, anyway, moving on. I don't want to spend too much time on that. You know, I just... This is an escape from life. I just want to move away from that. Finally, we are going to do a short movie review. This should be like a 5-minute thing. I did watch Venom Let There Be Carnage. I don't know if I'm going to do these every week, but I really did enjoy this movie. It is a little bit slower of a start. You know, Venom, the first one, as slow as that was, it actually started out a little bit faster. The main component of the movie, or the apex of the movie, if you will, really doesn't happen until the end. You know, closer to the end when they introduce Carnage. If you didn't know, Let There Be Carnage that's why they named it Let There Be Carnage, because the villain is Carnage in there, and Venom's its own anti-hero. That being, I mean, I can't be too upset with this movie. With all that said, I mean, obviously, you know, it's a sequel, so, you can expect the same characters to be in it, the same similar plot, not the same plot, you know. It's Venom. You know what you're going into, right? Except for they introduce Carnage. I don't agree with all the premises of the movie. You know, there's some stuff that happens at the end that you're just like, what? Why would he do that? But you have to under you have to be willing to let go of the comics perspectives. You have to be willing to understand that Venom is not going to follow the comics, and that's just basically the best way I can put it. It's really good, but it's not. You know, there is no Spider-Man, there is no other symbiotes, there's no toxin, there's no, you know, there's none of that. This game is, or this movie is simply Venom, Carnage, go. And they introduce Carnage eventually, and they introduce the two guys face to face. I'm trying to figure out a way to be vague about this. They introduce the two people face to face, and then you realize that it's hard to explain, even. So they introduce Carnage. Venom, you know, is going to fight Carnage, and then they introduce the two characters, like the two actual like symbiote hosts face to face, right? And these symbiote hosts, like, one's crazy and one's like only half crazy because he got Venom in his ear. But when they introduce these two characters, that's basically when the fight starts. And the whole movie, aside from that, is just them dancing around each other. You know, Woody Harrelson or Cletus, whatever you want to call him, he's always just a few steps behind Brock, right? Because that's who he's looking for, is Brock and a couple other people. You know, it's a fun movie. I mean, I had a good time watching it just because of who the villain is, and I've always been a symbiote fan in the Spider-Man world. I don't feel like this was a 9 out of 10, or even an 8 out of 10, honestly. This was probably a 7 out of 10. You know, it was good. It started out slow. There were a couple moments in the movie where I was just like, why are we doing this? Like, why? What? Like, why? Like, why would he crack a joke at a certain point in the movie? You know what I mean? Like, it almost seems like they're trying too hard to be funny and, like, bring out the comical value that is MCU. You know what I mean? Anyway, yeah, you do definitely, you definitely see, you see the coalition between Spider-Man and Venom as a whole. You know what I mean? Like, you can maybe see him doing a guest star in Spider-Man, or you can maybe see Spider-Man doing a guest star in Venom. It's really hit and miss. The ending sequence is really cool. I highly suggest you go watch that. Definitely. For sure. In terms of scores, like I said, 7 out of 10. Fun movie. Not quite as good as the first one. They could have done a little bit more with it, but, I mean, hey, it's Venom. I can't complain. Next, we are... Oh, and this is just something that I wanted to ask something. We're going to wrap it up after this, guys. I don't have any questions here. If I have to, I'll start writing questions. I'm just going to be honest. If I have to, I'll start writing questions in on my own. But we don't have any questions, guys. If you guys want to send in questions, feel free to email me. So that's, well, for this one, you can probably just use the new Yu-Gi-Oh guy, 202239 at yahoo.com. And that will be my email address. Yes, I am a Yu-Gi-Oh player. I'll actually be doing a channel on that too. The new Yu-Gi-Oh guy, 202239 at yahoo.com. And that will that email will go to me, and I will read your questions right here on the air. The other side of that is I want to start doing live streaming, as I mentioned at the top of the show. I am going to start streaming next week. This is just a preliminary video to get the name out there, get me, basically doing podcasts. I love what I do, but I would with this, but I would like there to be at least somewhat of an audience. So, you know, a couple people a week wouldn't be so bad. So, I'm going to start live streaming this, and if you guys could share out the streams, tweet them, whatever you got to do, super appreciated. I mean, I really can't thank you enough if you do that. So, thank you very much. On the flip side of that, that is going to wrap up our show, guys. So, if you guys are interested in following us, we have a fan page on Facebook. It's just called Broken Controllers. Just go there and join the group. You can also follow our YouTube and our Twitch. We are currently working on a Twitch. We actually don't have any streams up right now. I am talking with a buddy about getting Twitch streams up. But we do have a YouTube and a Twitch channel, as well as I'm working on a Twitter fan page as well. So you guys can like and subscribe there as well. Again, guys, if you guys have any questions, anything at all, any recommendations on how to improve the show, let me know. I will do my best to get to them on the air, and that's what we'll wrap up the show with every week, so that we can make sure that we're all on the same page. And, you know, it's a good final sequence as far as I'm concerned. So again, if you have questions, feel free to send them to the new Yu-Gi-Oh guy 202239 at yahoo.com, and that'll go directly to me. So, like I said, guys, like, subscribe. That's going to do it for today. Peace.